we'd all gone down to Tortola on a sailing trip. I'd lived in Puerto Rico for a while, and they came down and visited me, and I told him, you know, I was thinking about building this place. And he said, well, why don't you build it out of all treated wood? He said, I can get you a good deal on it, and we'll kiln dry it, because if you build a place out of treated wood, everything warps as it dries out. So this whole place is built. I got a few boards that aren't with kiln dried treated wood, so it's not, you know, it's not going anywhere. When my carpenters from across the street, there's four of his friends and I built this. When they had it framed out, just framed, I sent them home and said, you know, don't come back for a week. And I went to Lowe's and bought every kind of hurricane tire you could think of. And I put everywhere, okay? So this place, there's no twisting or doors opening or cabinets opening. And when it moves, it moves as a solid, you know, as one unit. Now from the floor up, from the ground up, I put a slab, and then I put two 1-foot runners down the entire, right up under my foot here, on this side and in here. And then I went and got some heavy duty angle iron, some 3/8, and I built me a bridge, looks like a bridge under here. And then I came back and I built it up high enough to where I could get these 2x4x16 sheets of styrofoam under. And then I came back, and when I put my floor joisters down, I welded them, tacked them to the steel frame. And when I got up, and I put gussets on every, you know what a gusset is? I cut a piece of plywood in a triangle about that high, and that, you know, a triangle about this big. And on every rafter that goes up, it hooks into your ceiling rafters hooked into your roof at an angle. I came and put those gussets and screwed them in, so this can't be any play.
Right, now you got lifted.
Huh? I mean, there's none of this, you know. And you better take that into consideration. You know, if you're talking about building something on the water, no matter where you put it, sooner or later there's probably going to be waves. Because I've had waves breaking over this porch.
Wow.
Okay? I mean, big time, you know. So, you better do your planning, because up front, a good foundation and build it solid as you can, you know. Because look at all these windows. See, I had to really, all these headers are 2x12 solid. All this bottom here is filled in with plywood to give it strength. That's a 4x6 going up there. And this rafter coming across here tying this wall to that wall is a 4x6. One of those. You know what a 4x6 is. And I've got some pictures I'll show you of what it looked like when I was building it. And that's it. And I put in a 12-volt system. So I've got 12-volt lights running off that little light over there in the corner. Here, even without the generator running, I've got lights.
So yeah, I was wondering about that. How do you use a generator for everything?
Huh?
You use a generator for all the electricity?
For everything.
All the time?
Well, yeah. I mean, whenever they cut off the electricity at 35 feet, which is about a foot lower than it is here.
Okay.
Okay. And they don't turn it back on until they can drive a truck down this road to make sure all the lines are good. All right. And I've got a 2,000 watt Honda that I run through my electrical system, and it runs everything except my central air and heat. And I've got a little 110 unit I put in that window down there on the floor for if it gets hot. You know, coming. It could be the 4th of July before we get back in here. Easy, you know.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's my house.
Before you built this house, what were your qualifications for building a house? You ever built one before?
Oh no, I'm a mathematician. I worked in the computer industry, you know. But I was raised on a dairy farm. I mean, and my next door neighbor who lives across the street here is a carpenter. He built houses. But he didn't build a house. He couldn't understand that this house was going to float. So that's why I had to run him off for a week, because he wasn't going to put a hurricane tie. This is 1992. He didn't believe in that, okay? I mean, why do that? He said, I can nail it. I said, yeah, you split every board up there. So I ran him off for a week. And he really complained when he had to come back in and put all this work up here, because every time he drove a nail in trying to put this molding up, he hit some aluminum ties, you know. He'd have to move over. But it all moves in unison. Now I've added this porch, and I've added this porch on the other side since I've had it, okay? Which spreads out my styrofoam even more,
Okay.
which gives me, you know, even more balance. But you get I've been through all the hurricanes ever since '92. I've lived here the whole time.
So were you here when it was Andrew 92 or 91?
Yeah.
92.
Yeah.
So you were here during Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like?
It was like being out in the Gulf, wishing you were at somewhere else, you know. But I mean, I didn't have, I wasn't worried. It wasn't going to do anything to me. The only problem that I could possibly have would be that big oak tree over there falling on my house, okay? But it's a lot of these cold fronts that come through, you know, for an hour and a half or 2 hours, you'll get a 40-mile-an-hour wind coming right down the river there, the long way down the river. Now, there was an old Frenchman next door, he's dead now, was a carpenter. And after he saw me putting all these hurricane ties, he was retired. He come over here and told me, he said, man, he said, this thing may blow away. He said, well, it's going to be in one piece when it hits the levee over there, you know. I said, well, that was the point. And at the time I built it, I was doing some computer work for putting in an accounting package for a friend of mine. And he owned a sign company that put up Burger King signs and all, okay? And my sailing buddy was his engineer that did the foundations and all that, you know, you have to turn into the state and get it approved and all. So I called my sailing buddy and told him what I was going to do and gave him my dimensions of my house, the square footage and all, how high I expected to be. And I asked him, I said, you know, what, can I use 2-inch pipe, 4-inch pipe, 6-inch pipe? And he said, well, call me back. I called him, he called me back in about an hour. He said, look, he said, if you can find some heavy wall 10-inch pipe, he said, you're going to only need 3.5 sticks, which meant put 4, okay? And so I put in this accounting package for my buddy, and as you can see, this is the picture of it. The first thing I did was put the wood on it, put the floor on it, and put the wood that I, you know, for everything on it, okay?
So this is the beginning.
That's the beginning. That's the subfloor, which is 3/8 ton and groove marine plywood. Then I came back on top of it and put Luan, okay? But I got to this point here, and here come the river, okay? I don't have any poles. I have poles here, but so my friend hurried up and came out here. I said, look, water's coming in the yard. So he got his trucks with the big augers, and he took care of everything. He came out and put up my 4 poles. He said, do you have a pole? He said, I got some. But my neighbor across the street had some these 10-inch poles laying in his backyard over there. So I called him, and he worked for a pipeline construction company. He said, buddy, I can get pipe anywhere. he said, go ahead and get them if you need them. And so I pulled them over here. And then Greg Kogis, the guy with the sign company, came out and dug the holes and put the pipe up and welded from here to the pipes. You know, I was going to tie it with ropes, but see, I didn't have the porches going around the pipe yet, okay? So he put enough angle line around it to hold me for the first flood. And that's how I gauged how high it would float, because I had all the weight on it, a lot of the weight in these bundles of timber, because I bought them about a bundle, sitting on top of it.
Oh.
And these are some other, then I went with my carpenters. Here you can see my carpenters working on it.
How deep down are those pipes?
He told me to go 6 foot, put 1.5 yards of concrete on each one. And that's what Greg did. I mean, he took care of all that. And I went ahead and trained his people with his accounting package.
How much did it cost?
Huh?
How much did it cost you to make it?
The iron, see the heavy duty iron? I mean, this is some big iron here. And it's tied in at the top and the bottom. The iron cost me was $1,500. The labor to weld it together cost me $1,500. I got a guy that was doing work offshore to come out and sandblast it and paint it with that epoxy that lasts forever. All right? And that was $1,500. My carpenter did all the work for $1,500. I probably had $18,000 to $20,000 is what it took me to build this place. I mean, it was cheap,
Yeah.
you know.
Wow.
The styrofoam, I think, was right at $200 a block, and I had 1, 2, 3, initially 6 blocks, which you can see the blocks here. See them? That's styrofoam and that's styrofoam.
Where did you get the styrofoam?
There's a company called Drew Foam in Monticello, Arkansas.
Okay.
They make, this is the way it comes out to mold, 2x4x16. Then they slice it to put on the sides of homes. You know how you see people putting with that silver aluminum foil on the side of it? That company did that, but instead of pouring each one, they pour one big block.
Oh, okay.
Then they slice
Slice
it.
down to a sheet.
Huh?
It has a sheet.
Yeah, then they slice it into sheets. But their molds were 2x4x16. And that's it.
Wow. And so the first guy who had made the floating house over there, did he come up with the whole design by
I don't know, I
himself?
never talked to him.
You never talked to him?
No,
He was not here?
no,
Oh.
no. There's a guy back at the landing?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I never really spoke to him. I just walked around it one day and said, this'll work.
And then you designed
Yeah,
yours just
then
from seeing it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Had you ever seen, besides his, some other floating house like this?
No, I've never seen a house, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I lived in Puerto Rico. I mean, I did a lot of boating. I saw a lot of house boats, you know. Mm-hmm. But no, I never seen another floating house before.
Yeah.
But in New Orleans, you'd see houseboats right there behind, you know, where Southern Yacht Club, there'd be houseboats. Meacham had one back there one time, right there behind Fitzgerald's, you know. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I knew it would work. And that was just the easiest way to do it. I mean, you know, now they make these black blocks that you can buy. You know, they're sealed. You can get them at Home Depot. And what they do, they take the side, they encapsulate the styrofoam. You get them all different sizes for building docks and all.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you walk on a dock now, you look, well, look, see these blocks under that dock? Mm-hmm. All right.
So what, they seal them so they don't break off into small pieces or get damaged and that kind of stuff, or what?
Yeah, and so gasoline won't get to it.
Oh, because it'll dissolve.
Oh, yeah.
Right, they deal with all the oil and the gas. And
Yeah,
everything, right?
you know, that's one thing I'm really careful of.
Right.
This was a mistake. Of course, I didn't know it at the time. I didn't have my roof on.
What's that?
I should have put these poles out here. All right.
Oh, yeah.
You know. But I mean, I didn't even have this porch on here when the guy, you know, was nothing here. There was no roof. There was nothing. And this was a mistake. I should have, you know, had them over here. It would have made a bit of difference.
Right.
You know. And
Give yourself a little more room.
yeah, I had. And every time I walk in my shed and start my generator, if it's raining, I get rained on. You know. But now it's my carpenter's place. It floats over there, okay?
Down there.
But it was out in the river, okay, anchored with anchors when he bought it. And then when the flood came up, he had put him some pipe down and put him some concrete, and he pulled it over there and tied it and uses it as a camp. Now, yeah, I do a lot of fishing when the water gets right here. Pretty good fishing, brim fishing and bass fishing. And I pick my boat up and go up along the Mississippi where they dug all the bar pits going north of here. Put my boat on a trailer and go back in and fishing all those bar pits. And this whole island is a hunting camp, and, you know. And I was a member of it for years. And I just get in my boat and just go get on my deer stand, which is right across. Because if not, you had to drive. You could hardly get to this side of the house. The road comes in way on the other side. You can't even get to it now because it's all underwater. So now I've got full electrical everywhere. You know, my TV, my little window unit. I mean, and I'm all gas. My stove and my hot water heater. And I've got a gas for heat if I want it. But I use my wood burning stove. Man.
That's your main heat.
Well, no, I've got a gas heater inside. But it's so much easier and more comfortable if it's cold to get that good dry heat out of that fireplace. And that's a good wood burning stove. I mean, it's efficient. I can throw 3 logs in it at night and get up the next morning and throw a log in it and it's flaming already. You know, I don't have to relight it. Probably 5 foot of water right here behind the motor. And I'm probably floating a foot to 18 inches above my concrete. In other words, if this water would go down 2 feet, I'd sit down. It'd be floating. You wouldn't feel any of this movement.
But you could go up all the way where the poles are.
Oh yeah, they aren't all the same height. And that one, I almost lost it in 2011.
Really?
I mean, it was about to go through the porch. I've got drinking water, thank goodness. They came in here about, I think 3 years ago and put in a parish water system. Before that, it was on a water well that we passed down here down the road a little way. Well, when they cut the electricity off, there went our water.
And then what'd you do? Bring in bottled water? Or
No, well, I'd bring in bottled water, but I put a house filter on my, and I had me an electric water pump, and I had me some pipe running all the way down my pier, so I'd get it out the bottom of the river. It would be a little bit cleaner than it is up on the top. Okay.
And you filtered that?
And I filtered it and just brought it, but it put a strain on my generator in it. A water pump got a big motor on it, so I'd have to turn off everything. It would not. Look, I'd just soon have water though with electricity.
Yeah.
It's that important.
Yeah.
People, you know, like what happened in Puerto Rico here this last year, the people in those high rises, how they live without water. You know,
I have some friends.
you
from
can
there.
open the door and get some fresh air,
Yeah.
but you can't flush. You can't. How you flush your toilet? Yeah, I'm 74 years old next month. I remember when I was a kid, it was snowing. We had icicles all the time.
Right. Yeah.
I finally saw an icicle this past year when it got 20 degrees here. But first time probably in 35 or 40 years,
Wow.
hanging from the side of the house, from the gutter.